Hello. The name's Harry. Final Fantasy XIV player, bunny boy, glam enthusiast, yada. Welcome. So, you want to know which glam of each job looks the best? Well, I got you covered. Some rules before jumping in. First, only the job gear, no variant or dyed version. Second, I'm a male bunny, so only the male gear, unless gender has a huge impact on the look of the gear. And third, I will consider the FF as well as the FF14 lore and how they play a part in the job's appearance. Alright, enough of the talk, let's do it. Let's start with the job that makes every dungeon, trial and raid run as smooth and enjoyable as possible. Or, well, less smooth. Tanks. And because it's my list, we will not start from the beginning, but from the very end, so that at least I can say I was original. Gunbreaker, the newest tank with a big gun blade. Gunbreakers are supposed to be bodyguards, meaning the prime target is to keep people safe, shining, dashing, and making people cosplay as Squall since 2019. Gunbreakers' aesthetics are very different to the other tank jobs. They all prefer some kind of plate armor, Gunbreakers prefer leather and coats. Currently, we only got 2 gear sets. The Shadowbringer job gear called Bodyguard was our first introduction to the job. A leathery coat, a lot of ammo and a monocle? Menacing bodyguard by day, outgoing fancy rich bunny by night. Their big and badass gunblade, called Weathered Lionheart, nice nod to FF8 Squall by the way, gives this "I'm gonna smash you" vibe and yet looks stylish. Gunbreaker's Endwalker gear has kept its leathery coat style but looks a bit different. The color has now some furry elements, probably Hrofgar fur. The colors are mostly black and gold. The monocle is an eye patch now and there are many buckles and zips. It's probably a nightmare to get out of this coat. Overall, it's a lot sleeker than the Shadowbringer gear. Shadowbringers introduced us to the job and gave us a really first glance at what a gunbreaker should look like. They really embody the profession as bodyguard. On the other hand, Endwalker's Allegiance set is highly inspired by the one and only Leonard Squall, the character everybody thinks of when they hear gunbreaker. They managed to weave in the bodyguard aesthetic they had established for the job, and in that regard I think that Endwalker did not just build on top of the aesthetic of the job, but also referenced the source material pretty well. The winner is Endwalker. Dark Knight. What comes to mind when you hear the word dark and night? If you said edgy, that would be correct. If you said Batman, you'd also be correct. Dark Knights are the edgy Batmans of Final Fantasy XIV. How do you portray edginess in a game? Add some spikes, wear the darkest black, have some red accents on your armor, and wear a scary helmet. Boom! You're Batman. But in all seriousness, Dark Knights are very specific in their appearance. Within the Final Fantasy universe, there are many iterations of Dark Knights, like Cecil from Final Fantasy IV or Leon from Final Fantasy II. FF14, clearly inspired by their design, went even further and added more of its unique style to it. Heavensward's Chaos set pretty much sums up what there is to know about Dark Knight. Spikes on shoulders and arms and black with some red accents. It's very demonic in its appearance due to its color scheme and the horns on the helmet. It has this Dark Souls boss vibe to it. Stormblood's Abyss set looks pretty much the same. It changed the red to a dark purple and the horns are now pointing upwards. But behold, we got a fashionable cape. But don't get too attached to it, because in Shadowbringers, it was gone. The spiky shoulders are back, the horns are now unsymmetrical and the colors are a bit more greyish. You could say the Bale set is a bit pale. But the most striking feature is the nice nod to Final Fantasy IV's Cecil, the helmet. You can say there are some similarities between them, and given the fact that Shadowbringer's poster child, the Dark Knight, became a paladin in the next expansion Endwalker, well, it's more than a nice nod, it's for shadowing at its finest. Yoshi P nicely nodding to the franchise's rich history since 2013. But even as edgy and dark as Dark Knights portray, even they have an emo gothic metal face, and that face is called ignominy. Forget the shoulder and arm spikes.
It's time for metal.
They also get their red back. Why, you may ask? So no one sees how
Bloody they've got after filling a blood gauge.
the horns can pierce your eyes just
For looking at them.
They've got enough of your edgy boy jokes. They're here to show you who the real daddy is. In conclusion, Dark Knights haven't really changed throughout the years, aesthetically speaking, but the small and subtle changes do stand out. So, what's the best? Heavensward definitely showed the aesthetical direction of the job, and it's not surprising to see that it carry over to all the expansions, aka if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think that Endwalker made the perfect job gear for Dark Knight. There is no denying that they improved on every feature of the job gear. If you ask a non-FF player what they think a Dark Knight looks like, I guarantee this is what they have in mind. Given the lore, the first Dark Knight was banished for his actions by killing a priest for doing unspeakable acts to a girl. This definitely feels like a banished knight. It's a wonderful mix of dark, gritty lore and knight aesthetics. Warrior. I swear I will not try to integrate any Felcleave joke in this section because it would decimate my reputation. So it's best to shake it off and not to infuriate any Warrior fan. That's not a clever way to make friends. Okay, after this really bad Zeppelin impression, let's talk about the job that is too angry to die. Literally. Warriors are probably the most straightforward tank job that exists. To attack is the best defense. You can see that in the aesthetic. There are no plate armor or big shields or any kind of protection. They are designed to hit hard, to make their enemies fear them. The first gear set we've ever seen in the trailers, promo or cinematics was Warrior's Fighter set, and it's pretty much what the name tells you. Again, you can tell that there are some dominant aesthetical choices that carry over to its future iterations like the color red, the heavy armor or the horned helmet. They even got a small spiky shield on their left arm to protect themselves, but it's sharp enough to be used as a weapon. Heavensward's Ravager set keeps its wandering warrior vibe, but added a bit of fur. In addition, it looks very much like an orc, thanks to the helmet and the belt-like ornament. I guess someone was just a bit inspired by both World of Warcraft and Lord of the Rings, which is a good thing. The Brutal set is brutally different than its predecessors. It's sleeker in its shape, sharper with those shoulder and arm pieces, and it's a bit more modern in its appearance. It breaks from the traditional way we imagined Warrior. One day during the development of Shadowbringers, someone at Square Enix asked themselves, what if I made the A Realm Reborn set again? But this time it's pretty. And this was the birth of the Boy set. You can see the references straight away. The horned helmet, the arm with the small sharp shield, the sleekish bulky appearance. The only thing that stands out from the rest of the Warrior gear sets is the name. You see, the names of all sets refer to something attributed to the Warrior job, like Fighter for fighting and battling enemies, Ravager for its ravaging abilities, and Brutal for being brutal. But Boy? After some research I found a possible reference. The Boy were a Celtic tribe in Europe. They were known for warring with the Romans. That's exactly what I thought when I saw this set. They look like they gave the Romans a bit of spanking. Be ready for more Roman references, because Endwalker introduces us to the Pummeler set. Why Roman references? Because it looks like a gladiator got warped into FF14, had a child with a warrior, and boom! This was the result. Less armor, more leather and straps, and a spooky looking helmet. Go hunt down some monsters. Find someone to the death in the arena. Go trick-and-treating at your neighbor's door. This set has got it all. Warrior's aesthetic choices are not as limited as one might think. It always kept its base design throughout the years, and fans were always excited to live their axe-wielding, mayhem-causing fantasy. But what makes a warrior a true warrior? Warriors were always a basic choice for your party in older FF games. There wasn't much behind them. You wanted somebody who can just hit the target and do damage? It's warrior time. And regarding all the different sets, it's hard to tell because they all embody the warrior spirit. I love Shadowbringers and Endwalkers sets because they have such a nice modern touch to themselves, yet keep the warrior aesthetic. Heavensward and Stormblood sets are different to that what we're used to, so it's difficult to ask which one is the best. The correct question to ask is therefore which set gave us the idea of a warrior aesthetic, and that has to be a Realm Reborn's fighter set. It's the warrior set that started it all, and it still exists in later expansions as the gear set of a very special character. And all sets that came after it always kept the traditional style, just added their touch to it. A Realm Reborn warrior, I salute you. Paladin. Paladins are basically Dark Knights that look at pictures of them as teens and cringe about their choice of clothing and swear it was just a phase, only to realize that they have become a milady simp. So no spikes, no black, no blood, only the shiniest and most chivalrous armor they can get their hands on. Speaking of chivalrous, their lore is all about serving a higher power like the Sultana. As such, they use a sword and shield to strike the enemy and protect the ones they serve. They have a close affinity to light, so the colors they use are often very bright, and basically all they do is shine really bright. The Gallant set, our first Paladin set. A knight in shining armor, broad Madonna-like shoulders, and a lot of gold and silver. And to top it all off, they also got a crownish looking headpiece. Even as gallant as it is, it's pretty basic looking. Heavensward had none of that basic BS. The Creed set added some extras to every piece. You like shoulders? They made them even bigger. Crowns are for losers. Wings are badass. Wings for the helmet? How about wings on your chest? Paladin got thick. I appreciate the effort, Creed said, but I think it's a tad too much. Back to the basics, as they used to say. Stormblood's chivalrous set tried to romanticize the Paladin. You can see that the more silverish armor pieces disappeared and a lot more colored pieces were added. It's also much sleeker in its appearance and not over the top like its predecessor. And from this set onward, they began a trend that would give Edna Mode a heart attack. Capes! While Stormblood set was only chivalrous, Shadowbringer set belongs to a chevalier. It's basically an updated version of the former. They really went for the whole French knight vibe and added some more older elements like broad shoulders. It's a mix between a Realm Reborn and Stormblood sets, making it the ultimate and romantic Paladin set. And then came Endwalker's poster child. The developers probably thought, we forgot to add real knight elements. And voila! Paladin got real metal for the armor. They kept the cape, but now it has this medieval flair that not only makes this gear set stand out within the job, but it's amazing overall. At this point, Paladins just want to flex. Do I even have to make it less obvious which set I prefer? The knight aesthetic of Endwalker's Reverence set is just perfect. They really outdid themselves with this. It's really well done and makes Paladin feel very unique. They are here to protect the helpless, and they do that stylishly. It's going to be difficult to top this gear set, but we are used to being positively surprised by Yoshi-P and his team. And with this, we have reached the end of 10 years of tank fashion. I hope my totally unbiased opinion of Eorzean fashion has made you rethink your glam choices. Ta-da!